Good morning. My name is Will Ekoff, and I'm completing my degree in art education. In Vatican City, there is a life-size sculpture of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Christ that dates from the 15th century. It dates back to the 15th century and is considered one of the most beloved images of Roman Catholicism. It was created by one of history's greatest geniuses, Michelangelo. Today, I'm going to explain the history of this piece, some of the intended meaning behind it, and the impact it had both on the artist personally and on society in general. In 1498, Jean de Villers, a French cardinal living in Rome, needed a centerpiece for the chapel he was building. Specifically, he wanted a Pietà. Now, Pietà is an Italian word meaning pity, and it refers to any devotional image of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Christ after the crucifixion. According to Cody Swanson, an American artist and historian currently based in Florence that I interviewed, the primary purpose of a Pietà is to inspire pity or grief over the consequences of sin. Therefore, Mary was typically shown to be elderly and frail, struggling to support the body of Christ, whose wounds were always shown very graphically. That was what Cardinal de Villers wanted, and to get it, he approached 24-year-old Michelangelo Buonarroti. Now, at this time, Michelangelo was pretty unknown. He was living in the court of the Medici family who ruled the city of Florence, and his main skill was an encyclopedic knowledge of human anatomy and proportion that he used in his sculptures. In fact, he'd actually gained the attention of the Medici family by the incredibly accurate snowmen that he created in their courtyards one winter. Upon accepting the commission from Cardinal de Villers, Michelangelo's first step was to pray and ask God for his help. See, as a Catholic artist, Michelangelo felt he shared in God's role as creator, and therefore had an incredible responsibility for his work to accurately portray the beliefs of the Catholic faith. He then traveled to Carrara, Italy, which is famous for its stone quarries, and he personally selected the stone himself. Ultimately, the sculpture took 1 year to complete, and every single detail was made with meaning. So now we're going to go over a few of those details. As I mentioned previously, Pietas prior to Michelangelo were done in a very realistic style, which made for kind of an awkward composition, given the logistics of an elderly woman trying to hold an adult man in her lap. For the design of his Pietà, though, Michelangelo was inspired by Dante Alighieri's poem, The Divine Comedy. So in that poem, Dante referred to Mary as ever virgin, daughter of your son. What that means is, Mary was Jesus' mother, obviously. But as God, Jesus was eternal. So in a certain sense, he predated his mother. Michelangelo was so inspired by this idea that he decided to break the rules of human anatomy and proportion that had given him his career, and decided to reference Mary's motherhood by exaggerating her scale. See, it's tough to tell with her veil and her huge dress, but if she were to stand up, she'd be around 7.5, 8 feet tall, assuming Christ is, average height. And then, by also exaggerating her scale, he created a simple pyramid shape, removing any awkwardness from the composition. And then to complete Dante's theme, he referenced Mary's status as daughter of God with her incredibly young face. Michelangelo carved Christ with a perfect body, almost no wounds visible, with the exception of very faint nail marks in his hands and feet. Because even in death, Michelangelo wanted Christ as God to be in control. So he appears to be simply asleep, relaxing in the arms of his mother. Now we're going to take a look at the impact of this work. Well, eventually it would make Michelangelo a household name. Initially, it was considered way too perfect to have been created by an unknown 24-year-old. In fact, after overhearing someone claim that the work had been done by a French artist, Michelangelo actually broke into the chapel where it was kept at night and carved his name across the band on Mary's chest. He later regretted doing this, and he swore he'd never sign another piece of his work, which makes the Pietà the only existing work of Michelangelo to actually have his signature. He never forgot this subject matter and would return to it at least 3 times in his life, but he never completed another Pietà. In fact, he died during his 3rd attempt. In 2025, the prefecture of the Vatican household reported that 33 million people visited St. Peter's Basilica in that year alone. Of that number, 14 million reported visiting for the sole purpose of seeing Michelangelo's Pietà in person. It's kept right inside the front entrance of St. Peter's, behind bulletproof glass since 1972, when it was physically attacked by an unstable visitor. Now, I'd like to conclude by mentioning the unique connection this statue has with St. Louis, because while it was being repaired, the Vatican authorized the sculpture to be scanned, and 12 bronze replicas were created, one of which was gifted to the Diocese of St. Louis and is currently in the Basilica Cathedral on the Boulevard. The Basilica itself is beautiful and open 7 days a week, so I would recommend anyone interested in visiting it. Michelangelo, with his devotion and his passion, created a work that's inspired millions, and today I hope to have shed some light on this very important work from a very important artist. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Will. How old was he when he died?
He died in 50. What did I put on here?
Oh, sorry, did I miss that? Is it up there? I never heard the story about his.
1564.
Oh, so 75.
Where's who?
I never heard the story about him, but carving his name in there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, do I just press that PC button again?
Actually, just turn it off. Nobody else has slides, right? Yeah, just go ahead and turn it off. It's on that same box. Like off and on. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.